We used one of the world's most powerful AI to create two intelligent philosophical AI models, trained to challenge one of humanity's biggest clashes, Muslim versus atheist. We faced them head-to-head to debate 6 of the hardest religious questions, ordered from least to most challenging to answer. The first round starts off hot. Round 1. If there's no God, how did something come from nothing?
The universe coming from nothing isn't intuitive, but neither is a creator emerging from nothing. Physicists like Lawrence Krauss propose that nothing, as a quantum vacuum, can produce matter spontaneously. This aligns with observable quantum phenomena. Admittedly, the concept challenges everyday experience, but invoking a creator merely shifts the question back. Where did this creator originate? If everything requires a cause, doesn't God as well?
Now each of our 3 judges will rank their arguments 1 out of 100 based on their own criteria. The average will be added to each debater's total points. This argument had an average score of 67 points.
Your point highlights a key philosophical issue, yet Islamic philosophy addresses this clearly. God, being eternal and uncreated, exists outside temporal causation. Ibn Sina argued for a necessary existence beyond contingent reality, which the universe clearly is. Unlike the universe, God's essence inherently explains itself, making the divine explanation logically coherent. Isn't an eternal creator simpler and more philosophically sound than spontaneous emergence from literal non-existence?
80 points.
I understand the appeal of an eternal explanation, yet introducing God as eternally uncaused seems special pleading. Philosopher David Hume suggested we should prefer explanations closest to observable reality. Quantum physics demonstrates spontaneous, uncaused events at a fundamental level. While counterintuitive, it's empirically supported. Doesn't empirical evidence of spontaneous events offer a more grounded basis than asserting an eternal, invisible entity?
64 points.
Quantum phenomena illustrate fascinating uncertainties, but equating them to universal creation stretches empirical evidence beyond its scope. Islamic philosopher Al-Farabi emphasized rational coherence alongside empirical observation. The universe's fine-tuned structure strongly suggests purposeful design rather than random emergence from quantum fluctuations. Given the evident complexity and order, isn't rational coherence better maintained by recognizing intentional creation?
64 points.
Fine-tuning is indeed remarkable, but philosopher John Leslie explained such observations through the anthropic principle. We observe conditions conducive to life precisely because we exist in them. Many possible universes might fail to produce observers. Admittedly, cosmology faces uncertainties here, yet multiverse theories offer viable, empirically coherent alternatives without requiring intentionality. Isn't relying on observable physics preferable to invoking intentional design prematurely?
61 points.
The multiverse hypothesis, while intellectually interesting, remains speculative without direct empirical validation. Islamic scholars like Al-Ghazali stress philosophical simplicity. One intentional creator explains universal order more elegantly than infinite, unobservable universes. Recognizing intentionality aligns logically with our intuitive experience of cause and effect. Given these uncertainties, isn't an intentional creator philosophically simpler and more intuitively coherent than infinite speculative universes?
76 points.
Intuition alone can mislead, as scientific revolutions often show. Galileo and Einstein overturned intuitive understandings precisely by following empirical evidence. Though speculative, multiverse models remain consistent with quantum mechanics and inflationary cosmology. Granted, uncertainty persists, yet intellectual humility demands we withhold claims of intentionality without compelling evidence. Isn't acknowledging uncertainty more intellectually honest than asserting unproven intentionality?
57 points.
Acknowledging uncertainty is indeed essential. Islam encourages contemplation and humility, yet philosopher Sayyid Hossein Nasr argues the universe's intrinsic rational intelligibility strongly implies intentional origin. The Quran encourages empirical observation, yet emphasizes deeper, reflective reasoning. Intentionality doesn't deny uncertainty, but offers a rationally compelling framework for interpreting observable reality. Doesn't this integrated approach, combining rational coherence and empirical humility, better fulfill our intellectual responsibilities?
78 points.
Integrating rational coherence and empirical humility is admirable. However, secular humanism grounds itself firmly in empiricism, precisely because intentionality often reflects human projection onto nature. Accepting scientific unknowns without prematurely invoking supernatural explanations encourages ongoing discovery. Ultimately, seeking explanations based purely on observable evidence provides clearer guidance. Isn't a strictly empirical approach more effective for genuinely understanding reality?
56 points.
Empirical investigation is indispensable, yet reality extends beyond empirical limits. Islamic philosophy integrates empirical observation with rational reflection, accepting intentionality as intellectually justified, given our consistent experience of meaningful causation. Recognizing intentionality enriches our pursuit of knowledge, rather than limiting it. Doesn't combining empirical inquiry with rational contemplation of intentionality offer a deeper, more meaningful exploration of existence than empirical data alone?
75 points. The Muslim takes the lead with a dominant first round. Let's head into round 2. If God is all-powerful and all-loving, why does he allow so many innocent children to suffer horribly while doing nothing to stop it?
This profound question challenges every sincere believer. Islamic tradition emphasizes God's mercy alongside human free will and life's moral tests. Contemporary thinker Tariq Ramadan notes, suffering often reveals humanity's moral duties, compassion, justice, action. Innocent suffering isn't divinely desired, but reflects worldly injustice humans must remedy. Could suffering actually call humanity toward greater moral responsibility and empathy?
72 points.
While suffering might spur moral growth, extreme suffering of innocent children raises serious ethical dilemmas. Philosopher Epicurus famously challenged divine goodness alongside evil's existence, highlighting a core contradiction. Even if humans must act, an all-powerful, loving deity allowing such unbearable pain seems morally problematic. Isn't it troubling that a compassionate God would prioritize free will or moral lessons over alleviating innocent agony?
81 points.
The emotional reality of suffering is indeed challenging. Yet, Islamic philosopher Ibn Qayyim argued, this world is inherently imperfect, with ultimate justice realized in the afterlife. Temporary worldly suffering doesn't imply divine indifference. Rather, it underscores humanity's ethical duties and life's spiritual dimension. Admittedly difficult, could belief in ultimate justice and reward offer meaning, hope, and moral clarity amidst heartbreaking realities?
67 points.
Belief in ultimate justice after death can comfort believers, but relying on future justice risks undervaluing present suffering. Secular humanism urges immediate compassionate action, emphasizing alleviating pain now, without deferring responsibility to a divine plan. Philosopher Peter Singer argues ethical urgency stems from recognizing present human agony. Doesn't prioritizing immediate action without reliance on future justice better address tangible human suffering?
78 points.
Immediate, compassionate action aligns fully with Islamic ethics. The Quran explicitly commands relieving suffering actively and immediately. Scholar Sayyid Hossein Nasr highlights Islam's integration of earthly compassion and spiritual awareness. Faith doesn't diminish immediate responsibility, but provides powerful motivation, enriching moral actions with deeper spiritual significance. Couldn't spiritual motivation enhance our sustained commitment to actively reduce worldly suffering?
71 points.
Spiritual motivations undeniably inspire compassionate actions. Still, philosopher J.L. Mackie argued that an omnipotent, perfectly good God would eliminate unnecessary suffering entirely. Although spiritual inspiration can prompt goodness, it seems ethically inconsistent for a loving deity to permit immense suffering simply to motivate human action. Isn't reducing suffering directly, rather than using it as a moral lesson, more logically consistent with perfect goodness?
78 points.
Your critique addresses crucial philosophical concerns. Yet Islamic thinkers like Al-Ghazali propose life's ultimate purpose is spiritual growth through free moral choice, necessitating the possibility of suffering. Removing suffering entirely would remove meaningful moral freedom, transforming humans into ethically passive beings. Though emotionally challenging, doesn't the existence of suffering crucially preserve human moral agency, enabling authentic ethical choice and compassion?
65 points.
Preserving moral freedom is important, but severe innocent suffering seems excessive and unnecessary for moral agency. Philosopher John Stuart Mill emphasized minimizing harm and maximizing well-being as ethical goals, independent of divine purposes. Authentic moral agency could exist with far less innocent suffering. Doesn't intense, preventable pain of innocent children indicate a troubling contradiction between divine omnipotence, love, and moral purpose?
77 points.
The emotional gravity of innocent suffering genuinely tests faith. Yet, philosopher Muhammad Iqbal argues that life's trials, even deeply painful ones, profoundly shape human empathy and consciousness. Islam views worldly suffering not as meaningless tragedy, but profound tests, fostering deeper spirituality, empathy, and justice-seeking. Ultimately, doesn't embracing life's ethical trials, while actively combating injustice, offer profound meaning, purpose, and spiritual growth beyond secular moral frameworks?
63 points.
Viewing suffering as an ethical test is understandable, yet secular morality finds profound meaning precisely by confronting and actively minimizing unnecessary pain to tragedy. Recognizing suffering's sheer injustice motivates immediate ethical urgency, independent of spiritual reward. Isn't directly addressing and reducing innocent suffering without justifying it spiritually ultimately a more compassionate, immediate, and practical moral response?
76 points. The atheist bounces back with a strong rebuttal, leveling the playing field. On to round 3. If life ends at death, what's the point of anything we do?
Life's finite nature is precisely what makes it meaningful. Philosopher Albert Camus argues that accepting mortality compels us to create authentic purpose through love, creativity, and ethical responsibility. Meaning isn't diminished by life's end. Rather, urgency increases to contribute positively and live fully. Though finite existence can feel challenging emotionally, doesn't recognizing our limited time motivate genuine passion and ethical commitment?
77 points.
I understand that finite life can intensify purpose, yet Islamic philosophy enriches life's purpose by connecting finite existence to eternal significance. Thinker Sayyid Hossein Nasr argues that human actions have enduring spiritual value, thus transforming temporal deeds into eternally meaningful acts. Without eternal perspective, couldn't human efforts ultimately seem fleeting or even futile in the grand cosmic scheme?
71 points.
It's true that without eternal perspectives, human existence appears brief cosmically. Yet philosopher John Rawls suggests meaning emerges through human relationships, shared experiences, and societal contributions, all inherently valuable regardless of permanence. The finite context enhances meaning precisely because it demands active engagement, not passive reliance on eternity. Isn't meaning grounded in tangible human connections sufficient despite cosmic brevity?
75 points.
Tangible relationships and societal contributions undoubtedly hold intrinsic value. Still, Islamic virtue ethics, as articulated by philosopher Al-Farabi, emphasize aligning human actions with universal ethical ideals linked to divine purpose. While finite interactions carry meaning, eternal significance amplifies purposefulness, extending ethical impact beyond transient earthly boundaries. Couldn't adding eternal significance to temporal actions enrich life's ultimate meaning even further?
69 points.
Eternal significance can indeed enrich personal meaning, but secular humanism finds equal richness in immediate experience and compassionate action. Philosopher Peter Singer emphasizes ethical urgency precisely because life's fleeting nature demands immediate compassion, justice, and altruism. Eternity isn't required for authentic meaning. Meaningful lives emerge naturally from human interconnectedness and moral responsibility. Isn't immediate, authentic human meaning equally profound without eternity?
74 points.
Certainly, immediate, compassionate action deeply matters. Islam itself strongly emphasizes worldly responsibility and justice. However, philosopher Muhammad Iqbal suggests that aligning immediate actions with eternal purpose adds profound spiritual depth, enhancing sustained moral commitment even during adversity. Eternal purpose elevates human efforts beyond mere transient fulfillment. Wouldn't integrating eternal purpose alongside immediate compassion offer greater motivational resilience and ethical consistency?
70 points.
Integrating eternal purpose can indeed provide powerful motivation, yet existential philosophers argue genuine authenticity arises precisely from confronting life's inherent uncertainty and finite limits. Jean-Paul Sartre emphasized freedom and responsibility as foundational, arguing meaning is derived from courageously creating purpose amidst uncertainty, without reliance on eternal validation. Doesn't authentically confronting life's finite nature generate deeper, more resilient meaning through courageous personal responsibility?
72 points.
Courageously confronting finite existence certainly demonstrates moral strength. Yet Islamic philosophers like Ibn Arabi argue that deeper courage emerges by recognizing eternal realities behind finite existence. Facing uncertainty with trust in eternal justice and purpose transforms courage into spiritual fortitude, enhancing ethical determination and purposefulness. Doesn't acknowledging eternal significance alongside finite courage deepen ethical resilience and moral authenticity?
71 points.
Acknowledging eternal significance can deepen personal resilience, yet secular morality grounds ethical authenticity entirely in human dignity, empathy, and tangible outcomes. Meaning emerges precisely because humans consciously commit to morality without supernatural guarantees. Accepting life's finality intensifies urgency to create immediate compassion and lasting societal impact. Isn't consciously building meaningful lives through immediate action, empathy, and tangible achievements ultimately sufficient without eternity?
71 points.
Consciously building meaningful lives through empathy and tangible action is profoundly important. However, Islam enriches immediate ethical action by connecting it deeply to eternal purpose, enhancing moral urgency, personal authenticity, and spiritual resilience. Life's finite reality becomes a meaningful journey towards eternal fulfillment, where each moment holds intrinsic and eternal significance. Could integrating finite human compassion with eternal spiritual meaning ultimately provide humanity a richer, more holistic sense of purpose?
70 points. The atheist pulls ahead with another solid performance, now leading the debate. Let's continue with round 4. Would you still believe in Islam if you were born in a different religion?
It's a thoughtful question. Islam teaches that sincere truth-seeking transcends one's initial circumstances. Philosopher Al-Ghazali famously explored various beliefs before reaffirming Islam through reasoned reflection. Faith isn't mere inheritance, but a deliberate, conscious choice grounded in rational exploration and spiritual experience. Wouldn't genuine pursuit of truth lead one naturally toward beliefs that best align reason, spirituality, and ethical integrity?
76 points.
While sincere truth-seeking is admirable, sociological studies consistently demonstrate religious belief is heavily shaped by birth circumstances. Philosopher John Hick argued religious pluralism emerges precisely because sincere truth-seekers often confirm inherited faiths. Acknowledging the powerful influence of upbringing, wouldn't you agree religious conviction frequently reflects cultural context more than independent rational inquiry?
78 points.
Cultural context undeniably shapes initial belief, yet Islamic history highlights numerous conversions resulting from independent reasoning. Thinkers like Malcolm X illustrate sincere intellectual journeys leading to Islam despite differing upbringings. Islamic philosophy emphasizes critical self-reflection, urging believers toward authentic faith beyond mere cultural inheritance. Isn't sincere personal reflection capable of genuinely transcending cultural and religious backgrounds?
73 points.
Personal reflection certainly facilitates authentic belief. However, psychological biases typically reinforce rather than challenge inherited beliefs. Philosopher David Hume suggested people often rationalize existing convictions rather than objectively reconsidering them. While exceptions exist, most remain within inherited belief frameworks. Given strong psychological biases, doesn't inherited belief remain the dominant factor for most religious adherents?
76 points.
Psychological biases undoubtedly influence religious adherence. Yet, Islam explicitly encourages believers to critically examine inherited beliefs through independent inquiry, ijtihad. Philosopher Muhammad Iqbal emphasized intellectual courage and ongoing reflection as core Islamic virtues. Islam thus uniquely promotes continuous rational engagement, challenging mere inheritance. Couldn't religious traditions explicitly encouraging reflective reasoning effectively counteract psychological bias?
71 points.
Explicit encouragement of rational reflection is commendable, yet religious traditions vary widely, each claiming rational validity. Philosopher John Rawls noted reasonable pluralism. Many equally sincere beliefs coexist, each supported by thoughtful adherence. Given many faiths also claim rational consistency, isn't recognizing religious plurality a stronger indication that faith is largely influenced by cultural context rather than purely independent rational inquiry?
75 points.
Recognizing religious plurality is essential. Islam acknowledges religious diversity explicitly. Contemporary scholar Tariq Ramadan argues, Islam promotes respectful dialogue precisely because truth-seeking acknowledges sincere difference. While upbringing initially influences belief, Islam calls followers toward deeper reflection, enabling genuine personal conviction beyond cultural confines. Isn't fostering personal intellectual exploration and respectful interfaith dialogue precisely how individuals authentically discover spiritual truth?
69 points.
Fostering interfaith dialogue and intellectual exploration is indeed valuable. Still, secular philosophy argues authentic exploration often leads individuals toward recognizing uncertainty rather than confirming specific religious truths. Philosopher Bertrand Russell emphasized intellectual humility, suggesting rational inquiry frequently leads toward agnostic positions rather than confirming inherited or competing faiths. Doesn't genuine intellectual humility more naturally guide individuals toward acknowledging uncertainty rather than embracing specific religious traditions?
75 points.
Intellectual humility is undoubtedly important. Islam itself promotes humility as a foundational virtue. Yet humility doesn't imply perpetual uncertainty. Instead, it encourages recognizing limitations alongside confident spiritual conviction informed by reason. Islamic philosophers like Sayyid Hossein Nasr suggest authentic belief emerges from acknowledging uncertainty while thoughtfully exploring spiritual truths. Ultimately, isn't embracing thoughtful spiritual conviction alongside humility precisely how sincere seekers transcend mere inheritance to authentically choose their beliefs?
70 points.
Thoughtful conviction combined with humility is indeed admirable, yet secular humanism finds authentic meaning precisely in recognizing uncertainty, remaining open to continual exploration without fixed spiritual commitments. Acknowledging that birth profoundly shapes religious belief encourages intellectual modesty, compassion, and pluralistic respect without prematurely settling ultimate questions. Doesn't genuinely honest intellectual exploration often lead toward cautious skepticism rather than definitive spiritual commitment?
74 points. Another win for the atheist, extending their lead with consistent pressure. Moving into round 5. Why do millions follow Islam with discipline and sacrifice if it's all false?
Millions follow Islam sincerely because it provides profound psychological, social, and moral benefits. Philosopher Emil Durkheim noted that religion fosters community, identity, and ethical guidance, essential human needs regardless of truth claims. Discipline and sacrifice arise from deep human desires for belonging and purpose, not necessarily truth. Still, doesn't widespread commitment reflect more about human psychology and social structure than factual accuracy?
72 points.
Certainly, Islam fulfills vital psychological and social needs. However, reducing faith solely to psychological factors misses deeper philosophical coherence. Thinker Sayyid Hossein Nasr argues Islam's profound spiritual, rational, and ethical consistency strongly attracts followers seeking intellectual and existential meaning. Discipline and sacrifice reflect genuine conviction, grounded in rational and spiritual coherence. Isn't such widespread devotion better explained by intellectual and spiritual resonance rather than mere psychological comfort?
76 points.
Intellectual coherence certainly contributes to Islam's appeal, yet history reveals diverse religions attract similar commitment through coherent doctrines and spirituality. Philosopher William James highlighted how multiple religions inspire profound personal sacrifice, indicating sincere belief doesn't necessarily confirm objective truth. Isn't widespread disciplined adherence more indicative of religion's powerful emotional and cultural role rather than objective correctness?
68 points.
You're right, many faiths inspire sincere adherence. However, Islam uniquely integrates reason, ethics, and spirituality in ways widely compelling beyond mere cultural influence. Historical figures like Malcolm X embraced Islam precisely for its intellectual rigor and ethical clarity. Sacrifice isn't only emotional, it arises from profound intellectual conviction that withstands rigorous scrutiny. Doesn't sustained intellectual and ethical resonance across diverse cultures suggest deeper validity beyond emotional or cultural factors alone?
77 points.
Intellectual and ethical resonance undoubtedly influences religious commitment, yet philosopher Ludwig Feuerbach proposed religious beliefs primarily reflect human ideals projected onto transcendent realities. People naturally seek meaning, justice, and moral order. Religion personifies these ideals powerfully, motivating discipline regardless of empirical truth. Isn't it plausible widespread commitment results from projecting universal human aspirations onto religious beliefs rather than confirming objective truth?
65 points.
Human ideals indeed shape religious perspectives, but Islamic philosophy suggests divine revelation uniquely addresses humanity's deepest existential aspirations authentically. Philosopher Muhammad Iqbal argues Islam isn't mere projection, but genuine divine guidance resonating deeply with universal human nature, inspiring profound discipline and sacrifice. Commitment arises because Islam authentically aligns human aspirations with transcendent reality. Doesn't authentic alignment with universal human aspirations strongly indicate deep philosophical and spiritual truth?
77 points.
Alignment with universal human aspirations indeed enhances religion's appeal. Still, secular thinkers like Carl Sagan argue that human nature inherently seeks meaning, purpose, and understanding, readily adopting coherent worldviews providing clarity even without empirical verification. Humans consistently seek patterns and explanations, leading to widespread disciplined adherence. Doesn't humanity's natural quest for meaning sufficiently explain widespread commitment without needing divine validation?
65 points.
The human quest for meaning does explain religious attraction, yet Islam explicitly invites rational verification alongside spiritual fulfillment. Philosopher Al-Ghazali highlighted critical reasoning as central to authentic Islamic belief, challenging followers toward rational validation, not blind acceptance. Widespread discipline results from intellectually credible, spiritually fulfilling teachings enduring critical reflection. Isn't rational coherence alongside existential fulfillment a stronger explanation for disciplined adherence than merely psychological or cultural factors?
74 points.
Rational coherence and existential fulfillment indeed deeply motivate disciplined adherence. Yet secular morality and philosophy also provide coherent, intellectually credible frameworks, inspiring equal discipline and ethical sacrifice without religious claims. Thinkers like Kant and Rawls offered profound ethical structures grounded in reason alone, inspiring disciplined adherence based purely on rationality and human empathy. Isn't disciplined adherence to secular morality equally compelling evidence that intellectual coherence alone without spiritual claims explains widespread human commitment?
64 points.
Secular morality indeed provides coherent ethical frameworks, yet Islam integrates rational ethics with spiritual fulfillment, uniquely addressing humanity's deepest existential questions comprehensively. Islamic teachings simultaneously fulfill rational, ethical, and spiritual aspirations, inspiring disciplined adherence and personal sacrifice beyond secular frameworks. Such profound integrative resonance across rationality and spirituality strongly suggests deeper truth. Isn't Islam's comprehensive intellectual, ethical, and spiritual coherence ultimately more explanatory of sustained, widespread, disciplined commitment?
74 points. Round 5 goes to the Muslim. But with 3 rounds won and a clear lead in overall points, the atheist takes the victory in this debate. We hope this discussion challenged your perspective and sparked deeper thought. This channel is built to push AI to its limits, and as the technology evolves, so will the debates. Subscribe and stay tuned for more.